What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, I'm going to be talking about the Ravens as they have put in a request to interview Joe Whitt, the Cowboys secondary coach, for the defensive coordinator position. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say, if anybody's interested in like my quick thoughts about the playoff games and predictions and all that stuff like that, I've been posting that on TikTok. But if you don't want to, check that stuff out, completely okay. You don't have to, but if you do want to check it out, it's over there, right there at TTP Ravens. But yeah, getting into this video, please let me know what you guys think about this because everyone has their own opinions. And this is not something that, Ravens fans have really been discussing over the last couple months or even couple years for that, in that sense. Because if you look at the offensive coordinator, right, we can definitely analyze all the guys that the Ravens fans have talked about if Greg Roman were to be fired, because that's what we've been focused on. We have not been focused on defensive coordinators. And so the information is so much less prevalent about all these guys, the pros and cons and things like that. But I'm going to do my best job to kind of analyze, give my thoughts on it. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, please let me know in the comment section down below. And if you think, hey, the Ravens should interview this guy, some other guy, let me know. I want to see what you guys are thinking for guys that could replace, or if you think the Ravens should go in-house. I don't think the Ravens should go in-house, but if you think they should, let me know. So getting into it, Joe Whitt, currently he's the Dallas Cowboys secondary coach. And, obviously if you look at the Dallas Cowboys secondary, he came in this year and obviously the secondary got a lot better. And the biggest piece from that was Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs this season led the league in interceptions, was on pace to potentially break Night Train Lane's record for most interceptions as a season. And Trayvon Diggs is only a second-year player. And he was really able to step up. And the Cowboys defense, got a lot better. And whether or not you want to attribute that completely to Joe Whitt, I don't think he deserves all the credit. I think Dan Quinn coming in also helps them out. But overall, he was able to help develop that secondary a little bit and get into that side of defense, a ball hawking secondary, a playmaking secondary. And I think that that's something that if the Ravens are looking at a guy that's a secondary coach, I'm wondering and I'm thinking that potentially means that the Ravens are going to try and look at getting younger in the secondary. Because if you think about it, the Ravens have Marcus Peters as they have like a team option for Marcus Peters this year. But if it wouldn't make much sense for them to be like, oh, let's bring in a guy that helped develop some really great secondary players, but we're going to re-sign Marcus Peters and have Marlon Humphrey, who are already, in their prime, you could say, as like the key secondary features. Then they have Chuck Clark. And yeah, you could say Brandon Stevens, but that's like only one guy in that secondary. So, potentially if they're looking at like a guy that can really help with the secondary, I'm thinking maybe they're looking at making some changes. Deshaun Elliott is up for a new contract. And sorry about my hat. It seems really high right now. But Deshaun Elliott, potentially letting him go because obviously he's been in the league for 4 years. And while he hasn't played a ton, he's gotten that experience just through being in the meetings and everything like that. And he's played well. I don't think he's a player where it's like, oh, he's got to get better. Like he just can't do it and things like that. I think that Joe Whitt potentially could be a guy that you look at as saying like, hey, the Ravens maybe getting younger in the secondary. And I'm not saying that means they're going to draft Sauce Gardner. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, hey, they may be looking at getting younger and trying to become a playmaking secondary because that's been a thing that they've struggled with. They have not been getting interceptions. Marlon's not great with getting interceptions. Marlon's a great player, but he's not an interception guy. Marcus Peters, fantastic at interceptions. But other than that, Geno Stone had a pick. Anthony Averett, whether or not the Ravens bring him back, I have no idea. Chuck Clark, not great with the interceptions. Obviously, he had that Rams game. Brandon Stevens, inexperienced in the secondary. So potentially that could mean that he's going to help with that. But, looking through his resume, the biggest thing is he's a Mike McCarthy guy. And he was with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. He won a Super Bowl with Green Bay, and Green Bay's defense, their secondary player was Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson, great phenomenal player, phenomenal cornerback. One of the best cornerbacks of all time, one of the best intercepting cornerbacks of all time. And so, that gives me a little bit of, I don't know if hope is the right word, but consistency between the players that he's coached is showing in terms of the interceptions, right? He coached Charles Woodson. He goes to Dallas and ends up coaching Trayvon Diggs, and Trayvon Diggs all of a sudden is getting a lot more interceptions. And I think that's something to key in on. And now I don't want to say that Trayvon Diggs is on the same level as Charles Woodson. I think Trayvon Diggs is a good cornerback. I don't think he's great. He has a significant issue with allowing passes. I mean, he allowed over 1,000 yards receiving this year. However, he did get an interception. So he's a pros and cons guy. He's like a steroids Marcus Peters, I think is the best way to analyze it. But yeah, so he coached in Green Bay with Mike McCarthy, and then Mike McCarthy gets the job in Dallas, and he goes and joins Dallas to be that secondaries coach. But he's also been a pass defense coordinator and things like that. He was with the Browns, and I believe when he was with the Browns as the secondary, and I believe he was also pass game coordinator. Double checking that right now. Yes, he was also a pass game coordinator as long as secondary coach. The Browns, I believe, had the 8th ranked pass defense in the NFL. And this was in 2019. And so, this was, really young in Denzel Ward's career, which, hey, Denzel Ward came out of the gate pretty good. And so, like, he's shown a track record of going places and having, success with, cornerbacks and things like that. Then last year, he was with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, they had A.J. Terrell, but A.J. Terrell ended up getting injured. And so, a little bit difficult to judge how he was able to do with that secondary. But the Falcons did not have a good defense last year, and he was the defensive pass game coordinator, but he just didn't have the players. But overall, I don't think Joe Whitt is my top option. I don't know who my top option is at this moment. But I mean, obviously, like, we could look at it and be like unrealistic and say, oh, my top option is Todd Bowles. I would love Todd Bowles, but Todd Bowles isn't going to move from Tampa Bay to become a defensive coordinator as well over in Baltimore. That just wouldn't make sense. So I'm still doing research into guys that, I could potentially really want to bring in. But I'm not completely opposed to the idea of Joe Whitt. I do like Joe Whitt as a potential guy because, I've said I think the Ravens need to get a lot younger on defense. And I really want them to draft very heavily into the defense. And so if they're going to say, hey, we're going to bring in this guy that's shown a history of working with players that have developed good ball skills underneath them, and they already had some good skills with it, but he helped get them to that next level of statistics, at least. I think that's something that the Ravens can look at if they want to go out there and draft some guys to play in the secondary underneath him. So I do like that. And obviously, I think he would be more of an opportunistic defense, but that can be all right as long as you have the players that are opportunistic. Wink Martindale tried to run an opportunistic defense, but he wasn't getting the interceptions, and so it made it really difficult. It just made it very difficult under that system. But if the Ravens are making a culture change and a schematic change to say, hey, we're gonna get some big plays, I'm with that. I do like that, but he's not my number one pick just because, he's a little bit inexperienced, but I do not dislike the idea of bringing in Joe Whitt. And I think it could be all right if the Ravens brought him in as their defensive coordinator. But let me know what you guys are thinking about Joe Whitt. If there's anything that you think I left out, please let me know because obviously I don't know everything there is to know about Joe Whitt. I'm not a Joe Whitt expert. Or anything like that. So let me know what you guys think. If I missed anything, please let me know. Thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.